Welcome, everyone. We're going to give everyone a minute to get in, and then we'll start.
Jen, I'm so excited.
I am
so fun. So fun.
It'll be great. You know, last time our chat didn't work, and I'm terrified it's not going to work again.
That's okay.
And then I just put up my phone number, and people were texting me questions, which we can always do that. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, as everyone's coming in, welcome you guys to our September webinar. I'm really excited because we have another really great guest speaker. You guys know I love doing monthly Wednesday webinars. And today I have one of my fellow Canadian friends, Shane. Shane, introduce yourself to our community. I'm sure a lot of
people hopefully you know who we are a little bit. So my name's Shane Sparks. I'm now president and founder of Enrollment Resources right there. And we've got a wonderful product called Virtual Advisor, which many of our friends in the beauty sector already use to help them generate more terrific leads that are driving to more enrollments. It works terrifically in alignment with the wonderful work that the beauty school marketing group folks do, and led by Jen. And we got basically some unpublished research that we're going to share today. This is kind of a teaser, and we're going to tie it into emotional selling, but it's stuff we've not shared with anybody. And so it's an exclusive to Jen, you, and your friends here on the call, so on the webinar.
I'm excited to go through this. So first of all, Shane, you probably already know this. Admissions is one of the top requested webinars that people have for us. They just want to know how to better connect to leads, how to sell them. And that's why I was so excited to have you share this research. Can you kind of tell us what led up to you guys even doing this research to begin with, and how were you able to collect all this?
Sure. So our Virtual Advisor tool powers a thing called the Career Training Readiness Quiz. It's one of the tools in our toolkit, and it's a pretty elaborate questionnaire that mines into the hopes and dreams, goals, frustrations, kind of features, the stuff we would characterize as early kind of conversations in the admissions process. And our goal with this is to understand the human being, right? Who is this person we're trying to help match with the career? And so because we've got over 100 clients in our system, we're able to aggregate a bunch of this data. And so with the beauty school specifically, we're able to pull about 50,000 records from prospective students who are interested in this, in either beauty aesthetics or Cosmo aesthetics or barbering, right? So pretty big sample. And what it does is it kind of paints a picture of the human being and the what we call the hidden motivations, the things that are driving the buying decision, right? And so when we talk about selling or emotional selling, I think there's this, the thing that sets up that conversation for success is to understand that it's about connecting with the human being and what is really driving that her motivation to make a change in life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
I get esoteric, Jen. I get esoteric. So if I'm getting too spinny, you gotta.
No, I mean, it makes sense to me. Listen, when you're in sales, you have to find people's why. And when someone comes in to meet with you, you have to understand, there's this saying that I love with sales. It's that people don't buy their way into something, they buy their way out of something. No one wakes up and has a perfect life and tons of money and they're like, I think I'll go to beauty school. People buy their way out of something. They hate their job. They're not making enough money, whatever it is. And it's important in admissions that we find what people are buying their way out of so that we can emotionally connect with them. Most purchases are done emotionally. And so this to me is some really exciting research, and I'm excited to dive into it with you.
Okay, I'm going to bring it up here. And so awesome. we'll just, and there's some really insights that we didn't expect that came out of this. So before we get into it, if you go to our website, enrollmentresources.com, there's a link to a white paper. This is a 44-page report. It's free. All it takes is your email address. So if you want to go get it, you can do that there, or you can just scan this QR code. So kind of the first thing to understand is one of the things we look at is social style. So social style is just 4 quadrants of how to think about how people are kind of wired, right? So you've got analytical people, they're mathy kind of data, give me facts and figures kind of people. You've got drivers that are, hey, I want to get at it. Jen, I'm betting you're a driver, right? Let's keep things moving kind of people. You've got amiables that are the kumbaya types, right? I need to feel comfortable before I do anything in their buying journey. You've got expressives, and expressives are your typical hairdresser, right? Connect with people, love chatting, just like get energy from others, right? And so when we look at overall the mix of leads broadly in career education, it's a little under half for expressives, about a quarter analytical, and the rest, the other 2. And so with beauty, we would expect, of course, it to weigh heavily towards expressives, and it does. So this chart describes how beauty lines up against other kind of career tracks. And so we look at and say, okay, hey, 58% of people are expressive, right? The orange, you see the orange on the end there? Mm-hmm. Which for me was surprising because I thought it would have been higher, right? It would be like 90%, right? That the sector simply just attracts outgoing people that want to be, around others, right? That's where they're getting their primary energy. But it's not. And you've got, a small but important 15% that are analytical, right? And they buy in a much different way than the expressives buy. And we know most salespeople are expressive, right? We're great on our feet. We love connecting with people. That's kind of our jam, right? But so if you're bringing that energy to the analytical person, that analytical person perceives it as manipulation, right? So Jen, if you're analytical and I'm like, hey, let's be buddies, you're like, tap the brakes, buddy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I want proof that this is a good idea. I don't want your opinion about this being a good idea.
Here's what's funny too about this is that I think the reason, and this is just me with my years of experience guessing, beauty is pretty broad. And I know from working in a school and from working closely with schools, if you have an SD program and a Cosmo program, you are enrolling very different people. And usually it's the Cosmo that's much more expressive than an SD, which is usually oftentimes, Shane, motivated by like they had bad skin growing up, or they're a nurse and they want to help people. It's different than the expressive cosmetologist.
Interesting. One of the slides that's coming up is is going to show age differences and motivation differences.
Okay.
And as I was prepping, I was looking at the programs thinking, wow, this is, they're much different profiles.
Was it older people for SD?
Yes. 100, you called it. Look at this. She called it before we even got to the site. Yeah. Older people to SD.
Yep.
Right. So Cosmo's very young. And I was thinking, well, what's driving that? And I think it must be father time, right? You care a little bit more about the crow's feet and the whatever as you get, out of your 20s.
SD is very much a second career type of job. There's not a lot of people who are 18 that know they want to be estheticians, but you do have people who are 35, and not just because of their own crow's feet, but again, had skin insecurities growing up. Yeah. Maybe they went into teaching, maybe they went into nursing, and they want to use their love of helping people in a completely different way. And so those people, I would say, are usually the more analytical type, not as expressive. But this is interesting. And it goes along with what I teach with admissions, which is that you have to mirror and match your lead. And so
100%
expressive. Yeah. Can you kind of explain to everyone who's on here, how maybe your admissions approach would change if it's an expressive person versus an analytical?
Yeah, and this social styles, it's what it's called. It's just a type of Myers-Briggs or a DISC profile. It's just a different way to kind of slot personalities into manageable chunks. We find social styles is really helpful for admissions people because it's pretty easy to figure out who somebody is once you understand it, and it does give you very good guidance on what you're talking about, that mirroring, right? So if I'm walking cold into an interview, say an admissions interview, the prospects come in, well, body language, kind of tone of voice, just their kind of feeling I get, I can probably tell within a minute or two what kind of vibe they've got. And then if I know, okay, I'm like, naturally I'm a driver. I'm kind of a driver expressive. I'm a loud person. I'm outgoing. I like to move things along. I don't like things that take too long to get done. Right.
This is why we're friends, by the way.
Oh yeah. So if an amiable person or an analytical person comes along who's like a way slower decision maker, and they're trying to sell to me, and they're like, "Hey, how about the weather?" and I'm like,
spit it out. What do you want?
Come on, pitter patter. That's right. And then, hey, if we connect, great, we can be buddies afterwards. But like, let's get to the point. But like, that nature is horrible for an amiable person. So if I'm the salesperson, I'm trying to sell to that amiable person who's like values relationship, and hey, we need to be connected before I'm like open to anything you have to say. Mm-hmm. And being a mature person, I can tamper my inner nature, and I can quiet my voice, and I can, hey, and we can talk, we can chit chat and say, oh, that's so interesting. And we can just bond for, 60% of the call, and then kind of get to the point, and we've created comfort, right?
Yeah. And, I'm not sure we mentioned this at the beginning, but just so everyone knows, because I think some people are wondering, great, how do I figure out who I'm meeting with in 2 hours? Yeah. You can have this tool on a school website where either before or even after they filled out a lead form, it takes them through several questions where it does better prep the admissions person for what type of person they're going to be meeting with, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what our business we're trying to do is generate leads that give the admissions person the best shot at success. So understand who that human being is. One of the things we're able to draw out is what's their social style. So if I know that, hey, Jen's a driver and I'm going into a call with her, then I know I'm going to get to the point right away. And if she wants to small talk a little bit at the end of it, I know I've won, right?
Yeah, or even if they just requested information and they're an expressive person, that emojis and exclamation marks are their love language.
Awesome. You're so clever, Jen. So glad you're back in our world. Okay, so this is for 50,000 beauty school prospects that went through a system. This is broadly the distribution. So, age, demographics, I'm not super interested in. This I am, though. So when we look at age breakdown by program, right? So light blue here represents SD, the darker blue is Barbara, the orange is Cosmo, right? So when we look at, okay, hey, well, under 20, and this is of total prospects, totally Cosmo students, right? Under 24, mostly Cosmo students, statisticians catch up a bit, barbering's languishing, and then barbering is the over 30 career, right? Followed kind of closely by aesthetics. Mm-hmm. And Cosmo is a young woman's game.
Yeah.
Right. So how this is helpful is we also know that motivations change as age changes. Mm-hmm. Right. And I'm not sure if I have a slide on this or not, but one of the interesting things that came out of this research is that we kind of think of people in these generational labels, right? You're a millennial, you're a Gen Z. I'm a
millennial, but
you're a millennial. I'm a Gen X, right? Yeah. And we attach these labels and create meaning for them. And I would say they're cultural touch points, but what they don't really describe is really the journey we all take.
Mhm.
And what our research found is that under 18, 19, like fresh out of high school, their motivations are dominated by doing cool stuff. I want to do my passion. I'm like idealistic still. I want to do something cool. So for a hairdresser that's got, or a future hairdresser that's got ambitions to work in a cool salon and be expressive and, let their inner whatever person out, man, that's what's driving them.
Right.
And then money, advancement, those things are kind of a distant second. Once somebody gets into their mid-20s, right, mid-late 20s, all of a sudden money and advancement move up the food chain in importance, and like, oh, I'm living my truth, gets a little less important. And it's the natural journey, right? You get into life and you realize things are expensive and it's hard, and right, you get some gut punches and your priorities change a bit.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you have this barber one, because I pulled a stat, I want to say it was like 3 years ago, that 72% of barbers are self-employed. And
I could see that.
You have a demographic of people who went into the workforce and they hate their freaking boss. They hate working for someone, and they just want to work for themselves. And so, of course, they come back to school, because we sell them a dream where you can be an entrepreneur.
I'm going to jump around because there's one I really want to show. Yeah, okay, this one. I think you're right. Barbering is, I view it as sort of redemptive, right? I hate what I did, or I was screw up in life, or I got to get my life together, or whatever. They're kind of like chefs in that way, right? It's sort of it's like almost a counterculture kind of a job.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what's driving that behavior. And so this describes the difference between working and non-working people based on what their motivations are. Right. So working is orange, not working is the dark blue. So working people, work that interests me is more important to not working people than working people. And this is for Cosmos specifically. In the general market, it's actually more pronounced. Like there's a bigger gap between those two things. And then different work environment, better pay, opportunity, better schedule, like what I'd say either advancement or logistical concerns, way more important for the working people, the non-working people less so. So we've kind of in past viewed somebody who's working versus not working is just situational, right? They got laid off or whatever. There's just something happened, and that's just the current state of it. But what this is implying is that people aren't working partly because they have a low tolerance for work they hate, right? I can't stand it. I can't do it. I was like that as a young man. I cycled through a ton of jobs, and it wasn't that I was lazy or I couldn't stand it. Worked at a record store that should have been cool, right? Hated it, couldn't stand it. Every day was this like existential crisis. How do I get through another day that's so bloody boring, right? That's how I perceived it. Because I need stimulation. I need stuff to happen for me to be excited. And if I'm not getting that, I don't care about anything else. That is like the pain that's driving me. And so because we attract a lot of creative kind of people with self-expression desires, right? That's their motivation, is they want to be creative, they want to be themselves, they don't want to feel constrained.
Yeah.
That motivation, right? That work that's interesting, work that's an expression of yourself, like work that allows you to be you, it's so important. And so for our admissions efforts, right, connecting the dots for the person or helping them connect the dots to see that this is a career path that allows them to kind of be the person they want to be, I think that's the fundamental to most of the sales. But Jen, you tell me, what's your experience been with that?
I mean, it's not just for admissions. I love this research you're sharing specifically for marketing, because if you know that this is how most people feel, then your ads shouldn't just be like school starts September 12th. You should be saying you work too much at a job you hate. Like, finally find something you love. And I mean, I have found when you change the copy in your ads to be more emotional, and you even change your text messages to have that behind it, you're going to get a better response from people. So this completely makes sense to me. And this, again, it's very useful for admissions, because this is how you talk to people. These are things you bring up. And what I'm finding when I train admissions is that they are so hell-bent on going through this script of going through, and this is the curriculum, and then we have Pivot Point Lab, and this is everything Pivot Point Lab has, and then we have this, and these are the products we use. And I'm like, y'all are missing the connection between someone. An 18-year-old doesn't know what that means. They don't know what curriculum is. They just know that they hate their job and they want to do something they love. And so we need to be talking more about that with these prospects, instead of just like rattling off everything your school offers. Yeah,
well, it is. And I like to think about it. What's the song in the heart of the prospect, right? Like, what is the, we're all heroes in our own journey, right? Mm-hmm. And so what does that hero's journey look like for the person you're talking to? I like to think of us in the kind of little database business, right? So you've got, demographics, demographic type information, which was kind of the purview of traditional media, right? Hey, we're going to get the 30 to 35 female Caucasian demo. We're going to get the, and it trivialized people. It made us just a function of our, our age and our gender, right? Which is unproductive. And then you got the big data era, right? Google and Microsoft, and basically we're all just a rat in their little cage, right? And they're just watching us scurry around and guessing what we're going to do next. So I'm going to serve up some ads to Jen on this because I saw she did that, right? And sort of guessing, and they're like the Stasi of the internet, right? I hate it. I find them super gross. And then there's what is human, which is to just ask somebody what their deal is and then respond accordingly. It's like a party conversation, right? Where you go, oh, hey, Jen, that's so interesting. You're into this. Wow, must be. And then questions, and then engagement. And then I'm hearing them and I'm responding appropriately. That's what we're trying to do. And that, I think, is kind of the productive way to think about sales.
I think so too. And I think a mistake that people are making in admissions, given this data, and then just, again, giving what I observe, is that people are so focused on what are you going to do in the future, instead of focusing on their pain points now. And let me just give you an example. Like, I'm seeing tons of testimonials about all these all-star grads we have. That's not relatable to someone who's 26 and hates their job. It's just not relatable. It's literally like, cool, I'm glad they could do that. I have 2 kids at home and I can't do that. And so, instead of just saying, look at all these things you can do, I prefer admissions to say, tell me what you're doing now. Oh my God, I work in an office. Do you like it? No, I hate it. Tell me more about that. Like, dig, get them to talk about their pain points, because eventually they're going to talk themselves into going to school, because they're so reminded about how much they hate their life. And maybe they didn't really realize it until they sat down with you in admissions and really said out loud, oh my gosh, I really don't like what I'm doing. They're going to talk themselves into going to school. And so I really think, again, that's emotional selling. That's what you do in admissions. We are so focused on like, what do you want to do in 5 years? Tell me about your career path. What kind of job do you want?
Oh yeah. It's hilarious. One of the things we ask, I don't think it's in the slide deck, is, what are your goals? Click off some things you want. And one of them is, I'm not sure. I know I want change. I'm not sure what that looks like. And it's about 30% of people click that.
30%? That's a lot.
Oh yeah. So plenty, and it skews younger. Like, the younger you are, the less likely you are to be clear really on your goals.
Yeah.
Right. So for Cosmo kind of prospects, they're going to trend younger. They've got a vague sense of, a vague dream, right? And a vague sense of running from whatever pain they're currently in, the frustration. Mm-hmm. Drawing out that through a conversation, like, you're just getting somebody to clarify what they really want is like a major milestone for a lot of people.
Sure. Yeah, again, like, I see some of these admissions people having people fill out, even questionnaires about, tell me what your career path is, tell me what you want to do in the future, where do you want to be 5 years from now? And I think this more emotional way of selling and trying to get people to figure out their pain points and what they don't like about their life is really going to increase your conversion rate.
Yeah. Well, look at this. So this is the kind of what we call the themes, right? In understanding these prospects.
Okay.
And so, hey,
And
career outcomes.
This is the first time I'm even seeing these slides.
Yeah, no, I didn't share it with Jen. I wanted to get sort of
react in real time here. So I don't know any of this.
I want to keep her on her toes, see what insights she can help me figure out. We're still making sense of it too, right? So this was literally done end of last week. So this is all new for us. But if we look at, motivations, the themes, right, for the person, what's driving their decisions. So career outcomes, sure, 10%, of the full picture. I want to own a business. I want to help people. I want to make more money, blah, blah, blah. Experience, hey, my friends, I've always loved cutting hair. My friends said I'd be good at it. I've always kind of been the one who's had this kind of style in my friends group. Mm-hmm. But mostly it's personal interest. Oh, I just love hair. I just love makeup. Always wanted to be into, they're into it. I have a 18-year-old son, right, soon to be 19, who's working, it's kind of his first job out of high school, was working in a kitchen, right, at a catering company. And the chef is kind of taking a liking to him, and he's kind of moving him up. And my son always loved cooking, right? He was always, he was not a fussy eater as a kid. He just was kind of into food. And he's like, I'm trying to talk myself out of it, but I think I want to be a chef, right? And he just, as much as it's like, I don't know if the money's great and it's hard, and, he keeps coming back to it because it's a passion for him. Yeah. You can't escape your passions, right?
I think exactly. That's fantastic. And that's the thing with beauty, what you just mentioned, is it often is something that these people have been thinking about their whole life, right? They're young kids, they're playing with their Barbies, they're playing with their dolls, they did their friend's hair and makeup for prom. They've always been interested in it. And that's why I love working with beauty schools, because it's such a passion career. There's a lot of other vocational schools I've worked with when, I was a consultant, and it usually just became like a means to an end. Like I need to get a job, and I know there's a lot of security in this. Yeah. Beauty's different. Beauty really is that passion career. And so this is a great time to be in the beauty school biz, because that's all Gen Z wants. You said that at the beginning. The younger people, they want to do something that's like a hobby that becomes a career.
Well, and I absolutely love this sector, right? Because it lends itself to entrepreneurial people, right? And it's work harder so you make more money, right? There's that upside to it. I think the kind of social media world we live in, right, is everyone's a brand now, and that's for me. I'm on the cusp of being an old guy, or I am on the old guy side of things, right? And so the whole we're all a brand is new, right? And I'm growing up with that. So, but we all are, right? And so everyone on their Instagram and their TikTok and their whatever and all the stuff you teach, Jen, it's all about that. And that lends itself to this career field.
Yeah, it does.
And so I don't know, maybe a way to think about this too is you're trying to kind of help somebody uncover what their real brand is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. Personal brand really is sort of like the new marketing. And I think the more people figure out that they can even be an influencer with this job and get brand deals on TikTok, like people can do things now with this career that they couldn't even 3 years ago.
Yeah. So I wanted to share some kind of sample around this theme of personal interests. Like these are the motivations, the kind of things the prospects share. And the sample responses were indicative of other things. Always had an interest in beauty. My sister and I used to always do our makeup and hair together, like her hair, paint her nails, right? Mm-hmm. I always did this. This is like, it's my calling. I always had this career in mind since I was a child, but I had to drop having a kid. I need to finish, right? It's calling to me. And that's the story that I think is our responsibility to try to help uncover, right? Those are and if we can find that and get somebody to articulate it, like that's most of the sales effort.
Sure.
Okay.
You know what I love about this too is that when you're working at a beauty school, which is of course the people who are on this call, that's who we work with. We're Beauty Schools Marketing Group. We aren't a company for, schools with 50 different programs. Yeah. When you are an admissions person at a beauty school, I mean, I really think although you meet with, tons of different people, you're meeting with the same person. Like a lot of times you're hearing the same 3 or 4 stories. And I really think if you can, I don't believe in scripts, first of all. I really do believe in one-on-one connection. But I think a lot of that whole admissions talk, when you're touring with someone, it becomes the same story that you hear. The single mom who comes, it's the same story. The person who went to college because their parents wanted them to. It's the same stories you hear over and over again, which is great for admissions because all you got to do is figure out how to tour 4 different people and you'll be a master for the hundreds that you tour with after. Right.
That's funny. So I wanted to bring up one more kind of proof of this theme, right?
Awesome.
And so I'm just gonna find it. So one of the things we ask in this is kind of, what are your motivations? What do you want? Right. And so for beauty process,
pick multiple things here.
Oh yeah, they can pick multiple. So yeah, it doesn't add up to 100. They would choose multiple things.
Okay.
So 72% of prospects work that interests them. That's the top. For the majority of people, that's the pain, that's the story, okay. Right? And then money, work environment, opportunity for advancement come up kind of second typically, And so if I were to, I don't know, profile the typical prospect, it's like, I want to do something that feeds my passions because I need to, and I want upside, right? In that order. I want upside with money. I want to kind of be in a cool environment, and I want it to be able to go somewhere. But in that order, right? So if we get out of order on it, hey, there's lots of opportunity and we don't stoke the kind of passions for the person, we do it backwards, right? We didn't, I don't know, we jumped to dinner and a movie and we didn't have a coffee date, right? And so it's out of order and it fails, right?
Yeah.
Is that a weird analogy?
No, it's funny because I use similar analogies. I always say you're naming your kids on the first date.
Our view of it, and I'm going to expand this metaphor a bit. In this, I think is true of all sales, is that it is very similar to dating, right? And so I know, Jen, you've been married forever, so you're gonna have to go back and
I know, but like missed opportunity. One of my friends told me yesterday. She's like, "You would have been great on dating apps." I'm like, "I know. I'm like texter. I really missed out, if I'm honest with you."
If the beauty gig doesn't work out, you could do that. You could be a dating coach. You'd kill.
Exactly.
But in the dynamic, basically people getting to know each other under a kind of shared objective. They both want to find the one, but like it's a stressful, I've got anxieties around it, right? So it's similar to buying things.
Yep.
It is the natural, the flow that works is some low risk initial commitment, right? Hey Jen, we should go get a coffee sometime. Want to get a coffee with me? Coffee can be 10 minutes, right? If I suck and you don't like me, great. Hey, it's nice to meet you. And you can get out of there and it's 10, 20 minutes of your life and really it's low risk for you. And that's what we're kind of accomplishing in the phone call, right? And the first kind of overture with the prospect is, hey, let's just have a little chat. Let's just, let's just have a broad exploration of whether this school is kind of a fit for your goals, right? Low risk, coffee date kind of commitment.
Here's what's interesting really quick about the coffee. Let's talk specifically about the coffee date, AKA the phone call, the first phone call.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine if, I mean, let's put it in dating realms. You get on the phone and the person starts saying all their stats. All right, here's everything about me. I've been married twice. I have 3 kids. This is where I work. This is where, I mean, you just start going, you'd be like, oh, what?
Yeah.
See? That's what we do in schools.
Yeah.
That's exactly what admissions does. They call and they start rattling off information that wasn't even asked of them. And they're just giving way too much away. What is the best first phone call? Tell me a little bit about yourself, right? Like, just like, let's get to know each other.
What's a good coffee date, right? Hey, hey, he's not a creep, right? He's not, I didn't get icked out in the experience. Have you seen that show, that Indian matchmaking show on Netflix?
Oh my gosh, you know, I keep seeing clips on my TikTok.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with it. It's so awesome.
I've got to watch it.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's like and it applies to sales, so you can justify it as sort of like a work thing. But
sure.
Oh, it's fantastic. Anyway, but they were leading with like the info sheet, and everyone's like, you know, they've got their big long checklist of like all this stuff they need to get, right?
Yeah.
And they're matching, they got their info sheet and it's scrutinized. It's like painful. And if we sold that way, God, no one would buy anything.
Ever.
Right? It's just
ever.
And hey, if we all dated that way, the population would decline to 0 because nobody would connect with anybody. It's just a nightmare.
Absolutely. I mean, Shane, this is my best admissions tip. I'm going to give it right now. You want to know what it is? On a tour, someone comes in for a tour, compliment them on anything, on something. It's the best tip I can give you. Like, literally, someone walks in and you know they're coming in a tour for cosmetology. Oh my gosh, I love your hair. You already look like a cosmetologist. You're going to fit in great here. Saying something like that, they're going to be like, wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you have beautiful skin. Of course you want to be an esthetician. Like, just complimenting someone. And once again, do that on a date, compliment me, and you can buy me dinner any day of the week. I don't care if I'm married. Like, I love a compliment. Who doesn't love a compliment?
Oh yeah.
And that's, I mean, that is part of the emotional selling.
Okay, so I think, so we'll just extend this metaphor a bit. So everyone on the call, the rhetorical question, and I can answer it for my life, but the rhetorical question is, the person you're with now, is that the person you imagined you'd be with, right? Like in your relationships. Mm-hmm. So Jen, the man, you know, the guy you're married to now, is he the guy, and when you were 15 or 12 or when you're imagining your life, is he the guy? And I'm guessing not, right? And I'm thinking about my partner Tess, who Jen knows, right?
Yes, love
and
her.
She looks at me all the time. She's shaking her head, thinking, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Sweetie, you chose this. I don't know what to tell you."
Quite frankly, I thought I was going to be with a Backstreet Boy. I'm shocked I didn't marry one. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So if we extend this into sales, right? So you got sold. What happened is you got sold, right? And it worked out, but you what you came into thinking you wanted and what you came out with happily having are different. And that's part of this, that's sales, right? And so part of it is how we move through a relationship with somebody, starting from we don't know them to, hey, we've consummated, for lack of a better word, but like we've secured the relationship somewhere. If we think about it in sales terms, well, okay, it's coffee date. It's a bit of, let's get to know each other. And it's, hey, that was fun. Let's have dinner, right? That's now a 2-hour commitment. So, okay, that's a little riskier, but I'm comfortable because the 20-minute one was okay. So I'm willing to do 2 hours. And then it's, hey, let's have dinner and a movie. Let's hang out at my house, right? And it progressed. The time asked increases over time.
Right.
One of the massive mistakes schools make is they go from, hey, Jen, nice to meet you, to we should go away for a weekend, right? And there's nothing in between. And that is, hey, you should apply for our school, right? Enroll now. You're like, what arranged marriage? What happened? You get
for dinner. I know that. I feel the exact same way. And what really bothers me too is when so little rapport is made with a lead, and then they ghost you for a tour, and then we're like, why didn't you show up? Well, you really didn't. They have no reason to. You didn't get to know them. You didn't ask them a question. You didn't even send them a follow-up text message. Like, imagine we're on a dating app and you're like, let's meet next Friday for dinner. And all leading up to that, you never talk to me ever again. Why would I show up on Friday for dinner?
Yeah. This should be a thing. You could build a whole like training program around that. We'll do it together. Yeah. The Tinder guide to enrollment.
Yeah, the two people in like serious long-term relationship.
Yeah,
I'll all the advice. Yeah, no, but I mean it's so true because show rates, Shane, they are falling in schools, and I always tell people, what are you saying between booking the tour and the tour? What are we saying there? Yeah. We have to be nurturing people, or they're not going to show up.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. And so when we're like I've noticed, so we've been in this business for nearly 20 years, right? So there's been a lot of cycles, I think less for you, Jen, but long enough, right? Quite a while.
Sure.
And there's these cycles, right? So, hey, there's a recession, boom in enrollment, and then placement, and that becomes a crisis. And then the economy heats up and enrollments go down, and trying to get people to inquire and enroll becomes an issue. And it kind of cycles up and down between those two things. We're not in a recession yet. Probably it's coming. COVID's been a weird, fly in the ointment complication, right? And it's kind of hard to know where we're really at. We've got instructor problems now, and we have getting faculty to actually be able to deliver on the programs, and we have placement. I enroll and I ghost you. I enroll and I disappear. I enroll and I change my mind. So we've got a lack of starts, right? The enrolled to start rate is plummeted out of nowhere, and then those starts are not getting very far, right? They're dropping. They're dropping way early because unemployment rates 4%, and wages have been going up, or they just think. And we've had an exodus of people, the kind of baby boomers at the top. There's been an exodus out of the workforce. They've just said, "Screw it, I'm out. I don't want COVID anymore." And so that's opened up spots and kind of been a rising tide.
They're taking that securities because it's going to run out soon, and then we're not going to have any left. But yes, absolutely.
Well, yeah, no, there's problems in it, right? We got troubles coming, but that's kind of the labor dynamic right now.
Right.
And so the part of the challenge or the opportunity, I guess, for our admissions efforts, our marketing and admissions effort is the better we can paint that picture of the future, right? The more crystallized somebody is on what they really want, the more tension there is between what they want and where they are, the more motivation that creates. Mm-hmm. And so we know that many prospects have a vague sense of what they want. They know that their soul isn't being nurtured in their current whatever they're doing, right? Like it's not the person they think they are isn't expressed in their current work. Psychologically, most people are running from pain, right? So we're more predisposed to running from pain than we are to kind of pursuing a goal. The problem with running from pain is that it's a broad distribution. You're just going anywhere, right? I hate my job. I quit. I'm going, right? It's not, I'm quitting this to go start that, to get here, here, to get to my goal of, owning my own salon and, making six figures.
Sure.
So part of our mandate is to help somebody through that process to clarify the things they want so that they're secure in the decision being a rung in the ladder to getting where they want.
I will say, for the sake of admissions, let me just back up admissions here for a second. Yeah. People don't always know what they want, Shane, but people know what they don't want, right? Like if you're in a bad relationship, you don't know who you want, but you know what you don't want. You don't want someone like you just dated. I don't know who I want to be with, but I know I don't want that guy. Yeah. This happens a lot at times with beauty schools. I don't know where I want to be, but I know I hate my job. If I'm in admissions, I'm going to lean in on that. And I'm going to let the education and the culture of the school inspire so much that inspire that person enough to now they can figure out exactly where they want to be in life. And I think a mistake we make with beauty schools, specifically directors, is we expect admissions to really like overly vet these people and make sure they're serious before attending. I'm sorry, then what's the point of your education? What's the point of your educators? If it's all going to be in admissions on that first 30 minutes, no. You are supposed to inspire someone enough to want to enroll and have a really great conversation to help them figure out their pain points. But you don't have to figure out their life track right then. That's for their education. That's the point of them being in school for a year, and you bringing in guest speakers and you teaching people about different things they can do with this license. And so I think sometimes we put way too much pressure on admissions. I did a post about this on LinkedIn the other day. I am so sick of people blaming admissions for drops or for leave of absences when someone's 4 months into a program. Oh, admissions shouldn't have enrolled them. They weren't ready. Oh, stop. Your teachers aren't doing a good job inspiring these people, and that's why they dropped.
Yeah.
I could go on all day.
Go girl.
I could go on all day about this. It's not admissions jobs.
Yeah.
All of that in a school. It takes a village. It does. It takes a culture.
Yeah. Well, okay, yes. And I'm convinced there's like two core problems, or there's really only one core problem in all schools that are struggling, but you can kind of split it into two. The first is poor differentiation, right? We're not really functionally different than anybody else, right? And so it's, who cares, right? If you're exactly like, the store brand's exactly like the no-name brand, I don't know, who cares what's cheaper, right? That's where it goes, right? Because there's nothing compelling. And that's hard for all businesses. That's hard to find that kind of secret sauce, the thing that makes you special, the unique ways either to live your education or the culture you've created or the environment or something, right? Something that's a thing you can point to.
Yeah.
But underneath that is it's straight up leadership, right? Yeah. And so when you have either weak leadership or like uncertain leadership, then they haven't figured out a sales proposition. They haven't figured out that, hey, you can't put everything on the backs of the admissions team. It's just like, it's not realistic, right? It's that the admissions teams, the point is to get them somebody in the system who's kind of reasonably suited to it, right? And to balance the reasonably suited to with the goals. And there's a tension between those two things. And then delivery, curriculum, engagement with employers, the culture and the school, the amount of enthusiasm that the leadership brings every day to the school are all the things that impact completions and really employability for the students at the end of it, right?
You know what? And this whole conversation, I think, has struck a chord, because if you hop on over to the chat, I mean, go over to. Was there good stuff? Yeah, sorry. This is exactly what I have been saying this forever. Listen, if you're an admissions person and you're on this call and there's a bunch of you, I know I have your back. Like, no one gets what you're doing like me, because I know what it's like to be in a role where people are expecting the world of you, and people are showing up for tours in slippers. Like, I've seen the people that walk in that you're meeting with. No, seriously, do you think people show up in pajamas to these admissions tours? Like, someone back me up in this, because I'm not crazy. Like, it's like people are just showing up off the street, and we have to enroll them. And so it's a hard time to be in admissions, you guys. I know it's a hard time, but the best thing you can do is go ahead and do your best to emotionally connect with these people. Take some of these tips that Shane is telling you guys, because it's true. These people are in stages of their life right now where they're looking to pursue a passion. And I really think the more you can emotionally connect with someone and leave out the whole spiel about going over every single part of a curriculum, I think it's better, at least for that first tour. There is a difference between, thank you for everyone backing me up here. There is a difference between an admissions tour and orientation. Okay. Because literally these people in admissions sometimes, because it's coming from the top, they're saying everything in orientation and you're turning people off. You're scaring them. You're scaring them to even enroll because you're going through orientation things. And so this is, again, I could do 1,000 of these. Yeah, go ahead, Shane, and then we'll get.
I have a question, and for you, Jen, and actually for the group too, for the do we ever try just tough love, straight up tough love? So I saw somebody said showing up in like rollers in their hair and pajamas. Anyone ever just said like straight up, come back later when you're more serious? Just really get out.
I absolutely wouldn't. No.
You wouldn't?
No, and I'll tell you why I wouldn't. Because they aren't enrolled yet. They don't know you. Like, this is just what we're dealing with today. And I think it's unfair to say we don't know someone's entire life story. It's like when someone's a no call, no show, and they're like, listen, if you're going to no call, no show for an appointment, then you're not ready to even come here. I think that's completely unfair. Exactly. They don't know the expectations. Have you been on a plane recently? That's what people wear on a plane. Like that's just sort of like society today. Yes, I agree. It could have been the worst day. I personally in admissions do not hold leads to the same standard as I do a student. Period. And so maybe
what about somebody doesn't show? I'm looking, we need to disagree on something, Jen. I think that'd be more fun because we're agreeing a lot in this call. Let's find something we can fight about. That'd be good.
I love to fight.
Oh yeah, it'd be great. Okay, so if somebody no shows, they come to, they booked an appointment, they no show, and you're like, oh, hey, sorry, something must have, like, what's the approach on no shows?
My approach is, hey, I would still love to meet with you. Does tomorrow at 2 work?
So you're going to just nice your way through it.
I'm not even going to mention it. I'm not even going to mention it. You don't know them. They haven't even met you. Like, why? I mean, life happens.
Yeah, okay.
I go right past it because they are already feeling terrible. And if you are passive aggressive,
well, how do you know they're feeling terrible? There's no evidence of that.
No, they're going to feel terrible if you're passive aggressive about it. Why would they show up now? You've already guilted them.
Okay.
So
we had years ago, okay, this is years ago, and this was, I wouldn't say we have a ton of data on this area, so this is an anecdote. Yeah. But having this exact conversation with a team of admissions people it wasn't a beauty school, though, it was generally just a very successful school. And they're talking about how do you handle no-shows, and well, I just sent them a note, oh gosh, sorry, did something happen? I hope you're okay. Some like validation that it's okay they didn't show up. And there was one little guy who's like, no. I'm like, I don't appreciate my time being wasted. If you get serious about coming to school, message me.
Oh God, I'm cringing.
Oh yeah, I know you're cringing. He had the highest rebooking rate though of all of them, like by far. So there's, it was all sort of similar, and he was like, and so I had a kind of coach dad kind of energy to him, and he pulled it off. He could pull it off.
When was that?
Oh, I don't.
Years ago. It was years ago. It was with a different demographic. That would work back in the day. You know what? Maybe. Parents used to spank their kids too, and they don't do that today.
Well, I'm not that old, Jen, honestly.
I'm just saying, even a few years ago, what worked 5 years ago, what worked 3 years ago doesn't work today. It doesn't. And so if someone no call, no shows, I go right past it and I give them 2 options.
Yeah.
I still would love to meet with you. I have a 10 and a 2 tomorrow. Do either of those work?
Yeah, okay. The chat's backing you up on this. I'm losing this argument. Okay, I'll concede.
Is there any, is there anything you want to debate? I'm here for it. I love
No, but I think, well, we're running out of time, but I think something we should, a good debate would be super fun.
I think a debate would be so fun. Old school versus new school. I've been trying to put this together for a while.
No, don't want to get painted into that corner, right? We're fighting. So I think that we're both fighting the same fight, right? We're both trying to find ways to help our friends at beauty schools thrive. It's an awesome field. Gosh, the world needs more people in this field. The world's getting older, and there's a bunch of people that are getting older that want to look better than they do, and we need to help them, right? Fundamentally.
Yeah.
I would say our approaches are, complementary. There's some differences in our approaches around lead generation, and maybe that could be a fun thing to discuss. I don't know.
I mean, I would say, I think lead gen, I think you and I are probably pretty aligned on that. I will say, okay, let's go to the chat. Y'all start typing in questions because we have about 5 minutes left. And yes, by the way, Shanna and anyone else who asked, this is being recorded. It will go out tomorrow to everyone who registered. So go ahead and share this with your boss.
Okay. But hey, before, Chelsea, thank you. I get a tick on my side. Tough luck or mothering.
Listen, I know Chelsea very well. She never misses a webinar.
And she likes me better.
She's taken my training before. Her school has very, very high standards, and they're okay not meeting goals if that means like trying to find that perfect fit. I have always said, if your owner wants you to do this and that is their rule no matter what, then that's what you need to do. So I think can I get a little pitch in here? You don't mind, right? Yeah, no, give your pitch.
Pitch. So this is the little pitch. So you either go to our website or you get your phone out and just QR code this, and that gets you a link to the research report we put together. My team worked really hard on it. We're proud of it. Super interesting insights into what is driving those decisions, right? Stuff that no one's ever kind of published or thought about before. So we're excited about it. Would appreciate it if you would download it. You'll get, I think, 3 autoresponders from us and with minimal hassle. So is that okay, Jen?
Thank you for sharing that. I know everyone's going to love looking through that research. I love what Carrie said, and I'm going to go ahead and back into the chat really quick, Shane, and mention this, that many prospects do have anxiety. And so I love to reassure people about where to park, who they're meeting with, give them reminders the day of. I just think anything you can do to lower that anxiety threshold is going to help your show rates go up. So I love what she said. What else we got? Does anyone, and thank you all for the kind comments. Can we just give some props to Chelsea for go ahead and she is booking. She said, I'm booked with aesthetics until 2025.
What?
Wow.
Holy.
Isn't that phenomenal? I mean, I know that schools right now are booming with aesthetics around the country. A lot of them are on wait list. And so if you need more Cosmo leads, reach out to me specifically because we're getting tons with Beauty Schools Directory. I know a lot of you don't need SD leads, but if you need Cosmo leads, that is something we can help you with, and that's great. Does anyone have any other questions? Pop them in the chat. They can be anything admissions marketing related, or they can be something for Shane and I to fight about. Whatever you guys want to put in there, drop it. What do we got? Nothing?
It's too harmonious. Look at this. It's just, there's too much love. Okay.
This has been fun. Thanks for spending my birthday with me. Today's my birthday.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
When you get older, you don't want to celebrate it. So it is what it is. But I'm feeling great. That I went and got my free Starbucks coffee today. Thanks, everyone. Because
you didn't tell me it was your birthday. I would have brought a cake for you.
Yeah, I would have preferred Tim Hortons Timbits. That would have been
right. We'll FedEx some out to you.
That was great. Thanks,
awesome.
Chelsea. Yes, I'm turning 20 if you can't tell. I appreciate that. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. Thanks y'all for spending your hour with us. Yes. Something I did want to mention before we go, one of the top questions we are asked at Beauty Schools Marketing Group is, do we do admissions training? Because I have put on workshops in the past. I kind of went into retirement with that when I joined Beauty Schools Marketing Group. And because so many people ask about admissions training, we are doing an intensive workshop in December. If you're interested, please email me at jenn.lyles@beautyschools.com, and I can get you the information for that. An email did go out this morning to our entire list that talks specifically about that, or you can add me on LinkedIn and I have a link to that form on there. But we do want to do some meaty admissions training for anyone who's interested in that. So, hit me up. Shane, thanks. It's always fun hanging with you.
Oh, so awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Jan, and everyone else on the call. Thanks so much for your notes and being here.
Yeah, this has been fun. All right, y'all have a great day. Thanks again. Have a good one. Bye.